course finding out what the client's budget is and positioning yourself as the, you should know by now, the industry expert. Right, let's take a closer look at the strategies that I prefer to use instead of advertising. There's a whole string of things you can do that are far more powerful than any advertising campaign for landscapers that I've ever seen. And if you're still with me, then I'm going to show you what some of those are right now. So handling inquiries over the phone more effectively. So when you do get the phone call, how can you handle the phone call? How can you handle the client or the situation more effectively so that you firstly avoid or filter out tire kickers, and secondly, of course, so that you position the client and of course yourself and company better. Firstly, never take the call while you're out and about. Now, it's okay to answer the call. Now, by that I mean don't try to hold a phone session with a client while you're out and about. It's okay to answer the phone call, but you need to talk to the client while you're back at the office. And for those that are thinking, well, hang on Steve, if I don't take the call and don't go through the process with the client right then and there, they might go somewhere else. Now, if you're thinking that, then you've kind of missed the point so far, because those are the kinds of people that are tire kicking. They are the kinds of people that are almost guaranteed to waste your time if you allow them to. If that client has been referred to you by a happy client or by a referral partner, which by the way is exactly what you want, then they're going to be more than happy to wait to speak to you later on that day when you're back at the office, or even the next day. Now, here's a tip I've been known to say to clients: are you, this is like another test, this is getting them to jump through the first hoop. Are you nearby a computer? Yes. Right, here's my email address. Email me your contact details and I'll give you a call later on this afternoon or later on today. Give a session brief. Now it takes, this is when you're back in the office and you're talking to the client over the phone. Give a session brief. What it does is it starts to educate the client on how you do business. It lets them know what to expect. One of the first things I would say to the client is, the session on the phone is going to take us 15 or 20 minutes today. Does that suit right now? Because sometimes the client may have phoned you during their lunch hour while they're at work, for example, and they may only have 5 minutes left before they're due back on duty. So 15, 20 or 25 minutes clearly isn't going to work. So you're going to get a few minutes into this and they're going to be hurrying you along and telling you they can't talk right now. Can we talk later on? The other thing it does is it usually scares away the tire kickers. But the main thing is it starts to educate people about how you conduct your business, and so that people start to play the game your way. Use a precise inquiry form and script, but it must not sound like a script. It mustn't sound, it's got to flow. You see, potential clients or clients in general, people in general, don't like to be scripted. You need a script to work to, but it's got to flow. You've got to know your script inside out, and if a client during the course of the conversation gets you off the script, you've got to know how to get yourself back onto the script. So what you've got to do is you've got to give the right information, you've got to ask the right questions, and you've got to do it in the right order and at the right time, so that you follow a logical process throughout the phone consultation. Assess the client and decide whether or not you wish to proceed further. See, they're assessing you automatically. Whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, they are assessing you. But you have to also be assessing the client. You've got to give them the right information. You've got to ask the right questions in the right order at the right time, so that they can provide you with the right answers, so that you can decide whether you wish to proceed further with them or not. Once you get this right, you can avoid almost all tire kickers over the phone. Now, I got my business to the point where I had a 90% or almost 90% conversion rate overall, including implementation. And lastly, set a time to meet with the client, of course, so long as you wish to proceed further. Now, they may wish to proceed further, but you may not. And just because they want to see you does not mean you have to go and see them. There's nothing to say you have to drive across the other side of town to spend an hour or two with people and waste an hour or two or three of your time just because they want to see you. And this is one of the critical mistakes that many landscapers make. They simply receive the phone call, take the client's details, ask them what they want done, and then book a time to go and see them. Drive across the other side of town, and you can almost, if you go early, you can almost shake the hand of the other landscaper as they leave, because they've got 2 or 3 people in. In blunt truth, then they wonder why they get so many tire kickers. It's because they invited the tire kicker in. They didn't have sufficient or any tire kicker filters during or over or on the phone process. So when you do set a time to meet the client, never meet them on site. And you might be wondering, where else would you meet the client? And we'll talk about that shortly, but it becomes another really important positioning tool. It's another test or another hoop that you want the client to jump, or potential client to jump through before you start spending time on design, but particularly before you start spending time pricing out projects, because you can waste a mountain of time pricing projects and then not getting the job. A unique consultation process